Pick a side, pick your poison. Pick a side, pick your poison. Pick a side, pick your poison. Ain't no picking on me, y'all about to get me going.
My name is Jay the Dragon, and welcome to my build guide series, where I will explain how to build the X-Men as playable characters in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This video is timestamped so you can skip to where you need, with a link in the description for the written version. My disclaimers are as follows. Official, third party, UA, homebrew, in that order. Mechanics over description, flavor is always optional. Builds work in every tier of play. And lastly, magic items are not requirements for a build to work. Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, is the leader of the X-Men after Professor Xavier. Cyclops' eyes are conduits to a dimension full of nothing but destructive, radiant light. His signature optic beam is a versatile and powerful concussive force that is kept in check by his ruby quartz visor, allowing him to control the amount and intensity of his laser blasts into everything from a rebounding snapshot to a field-clearing wave of destruction. When he uses focused and controlled bursts of his power, he can pinpoint and debilitate selective targets, fighting like a fast and skilled boxer with a long-range delivery and enough force in each hit to break solid concrete. But when the situation demands, Cyclops can remove his inhibiting visor, opening everything in his field of view to enough destructive force to reduce entire neighborhoods to rubble. Cyclops is a tactical and fighting genius in his own right. Even aside from his devastating mutant power, he exhibits exceptional mental and physical capabilities, able to perfectly ricochet his low-intensity blasts to strike multiple targets with perfect accuracy, like a trick pool player against moving targets. He knows that if he opens his unshielded eyes, everything within eyesight of him will be destroyed, so, at times when his visor has been lost or damaged, he has shown he can fight multiple opponents, unarmed and with his eyes closed, and blindly retrace his steps across long, winding paths. He is obsessively analytical, counting his steps everywhere he goes in case he needs to leave blind. He once corrected the suggestion that he go to Plan B with, "No, Plan 2. Plan B implies I only have 26. Using point buy, these are the stats I would recommend, with 8s in strength, intelligence and wisdom, and 15s in dexterity, constitution, and charisma. Though of course, if your table used rolled or other modified stats, you might start differently, and plan your ASIs accordingly, but you can consider these as a rough guide. Cyclops uses Aasimar's race, adding +2 to charisma and +1 constitution at the start. Aasimar is chosen mainly for the glowing eyes and the added radiant damage of radiant consumption. Aasimars also have resistance to radiant damage, which is similar to how the Summers brothers' powers work on each other. Scott's brother Alex, aka Havoc, also uses Aasimar, and they will both resist each other, similar to how they are both energy powerhouses, but their powers simply don't work on one another. Aasimar also has a healing feature, which will only improve with levels and the subclasses chosen. It's important to note that in D&D, health points are acknowledged to be an abstract concept of how much damage a creature can endure, and not explicitly meat points or how much flesh and blood they have to lose. So, restoring HP can be magically stitching wounds or just bolstering a person's mental state so they can be prepared to fight on. This is the description I go for regarding Cyclops having healing support. It's his leadership and rallying presence that unifies and strengthens the teammates around him, giving them the drive to face extreme danger and not give in. You'll see it all the time with the X-Men facing hurdles. His teammates know that Cyc will bleed just as much as they do and still fight on, so they answer his call and follow his lead no matter how bad things seem. As one of my favorite Cyclops quotes, he says, "Pain and fighting through it. That's what it means to be an X-Man." For background, Cyclops uses Faction Agent, getting insight and perception. Intimidation and persuasion come from his first level, which is Sorcerer. The recommended level progression is first level in Sorcerer, getting con save proficiency and a solid start with offense, defense, and support options. After that, put 5 levels into Warlock, getting to 3rd level spell slots, just 1 level late, with a set of invocations and pact spells that will define your character's entire playstyle and effectiveness. Follow that with Sorcerer levels up to 6, then finish the remaining levels with Warlock up to 14. Sorcerer. Cyclops starts in Sorcerer to get con save proficiency, a crucial benefit as concentration spells will always be highly utilized, and getting it now saves you from having to take it as a feat with your limited ASIs later. For subclass, Cyclops chooses Divine Soul Origin, with his alignment of Lawful giving him an extra spell known, Bless. He also gets the feature favored by the gods, letting him add 2d4 to a missed attack roll or failed saving throw once per short or long rest, which can be used for a crucial concentration or even death saving throw, or for an especially important spell attack that has to land. Once a short or long rest is reasonably frequent, so I would advise using this as early as would be impactful. Cantrips and spells started with are largely optional, but I would advise avoiding picks that are made redundant with what you get as Warlock next level. Sorcerers and Warlocks are learned spell users, not prepared spells, and can't freely switch them out except one at a time upon level up in that class, and cantrips only on ASI levels. It will be until character level 9 when you can hit an ASI as a Sorcerer, and you have your first chance to replace a cantrip. That said, you have your pick of the Sorcerer and Cleric cantrips, so almost anything you can want. Here are my picks. Chill Touch, a solid range spell attack option that deadens healing factors for that round, preventing regeneration through sheer impact, likely to be your main attack through level 1. Sword Burst, a close range burst AoE that deals force damage to creatures within 5 feet. I liken this to Syke's ricochet beams that he can fire in close proximity. Spare the Dying, rally an ally from potentially fatal wounds even if you're out of healing. Low-level games especially can have a high mortality rate. Guidance. A good leader is resourceful and supportive, a likely out-of-combat concentration if you aren't maintaining another spell already. Light. Gain from race. Dilate your visor to be a source of light for the party to see with. Spells learned as Sorcerer are only changeable once at leveling into more Sorcerer, so your first picks have to be worth carrying before you multiclass for a long while. Mage Armor, your protective X-Men uniform, your source of AC until it can be replaced by a sufficiently good magical light armor. Shield, blast an oncoming object with enough force to stop it dead in its tracks. When you would be hit by an attack, use your reaction to gain 5 AC against that attack and all others until your next turn comes up. As a backline playstyle, you will usually limit the amount of times you get attacked. Having this as a first slot reaction will patch up most of the few times you are at risk. Bless, gain from the subclass. Your sound tactics lead your team to a clean victory with minimal setbacks. This is a high-value first-level spell that will actually boost its own concentration save when targeting yourself in addition to boosting all of your attack rolls. If you have any allies that can use attack roll or saving throw buffs, this is easy value. Thunderwave. Widen your visor to forcefully damage and sweep away enemies and objects in a single wide blast. Thunderwave is a solid close-range AoE for when you need it with an attached push to give you space to reposition. In a 3D space, don't forget that the 15-foot cube extends horizontally as well as vertically. Warlock Level 1. Cyclops crosses immediately into Warlock to kick off the bread and butter of his playstyle, which is an Invocation-boosted Eldritch Blast. EB is a ranged spell attack, dealing force damage that improves more than any other cantrip through level ups and is enhanced dramatically by invocation options, the class features of Warlocks. As subclass, Cyclops picks Celestial Patron, gaining even more radiant damage and healing support. Healing Light is a bonus action, giving him great bonus action use in addition to his blasting on standard actions. He has Warlock level of D6s in his healing pool, spending as much as his charisma modifier of them in a single instance. Cantrips chosen are, of course, Eldritch Blast, your main attack from this point on. It's a D10 of force damage with a 120-foot range, almost always the choice for Chill Touch, except that instead of adding more dice on damage as you level up, EB adds more beams, with another distinct attack roll made. This might sound worse as you have to beat AC multiple times for the full effect, but in practice this minimizes missing, so even the odd bad luck or high AC target will only take partial damage away. This and the very, very effective invocations that come starting next level up are what makes EB Warlock so consistently effective. Friends. Incorporate manipulative psychology to motivate your team, even if it distances you from them. But despite the name, you aren't here to make friends. Sacred Flame from the subclass. As a spell versus save instead of AC, an important option if stuck with an enemy nearby that would give disadvantage to range attacks. It's also reliable on targets with very high AC or are using some form of cover, as you blast a trick ricochet where they don't expect it. Spells learned are Hex. Cyclops analyzes his target, looking for potential weaknesses and tactics to use against them. Gain a d6 of damage on every hit against them, as well as cause check disadvantage of the ability of your choice. Hellish Rebuke. A well-placed ricochet can blast enemies that reach you from any angle. Has a 60-foot range, so you can return fire on ranged attackers that damage you. Guiding Bolt from the patron. Nail an enemy with a tracer beam for an ally to focus on to greater effect. Always solid damage and causes advantage on the next attack against it. Cure Wounds from the patron. A healing spell with decent upcast potential for emergencies. Warlock level 2. Second level Warlock is when invocations begin, and already we are starting with 2 absolute bangers. Agonizing Blast, adding Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast damage, and Repelling Blast, adding a 10-foot push to every EB that lands, no save possible. Remember that EB hits multiple times per cast, so starting at character level 5 we're looking at Charisma mod times 2, and a 20-foot push with just a cantrip, and it continues to improve at that rate. Warlock level 3. Now we get to choose a pact boon. I go for Tone, specifically for Atasha's invocation later on, but this is entirely changeable now or at every ASI level. Grab 3 more cantrips if you do choose Tone. Message, your comm link to coordinate from separate rooms. Mold Earth, clear a path through dirt and gravel with your beams. Sapping Sting, included from the Wild Mount spell list and considered here for a fun twist on how Tome gets you cantrips from anywhere. Blast an enemy's legs or wings if they are flying and knock them prone. It is versus save and not a ranged attack, so it can be used to drop an enemy within 5 feet and back away from them while their attacks of opportunity are at a disadvantage, and standing up costs half their speed. We also get second level spells, and our previous Warlock spell upcast to 2nd level. Learn. Shatter. Blast through foe and barrier alike with concussive force, a solid long-range AoE blasting option with the added benefit of destroying objects in its radius. Lesser Restoration from subclass. Inspire an ally to shake off minor debilitating effects. Warlock level 4. ASI. Take +1 Charisma and +1 Dexterity to round out those odd starting stats. Now at 8, 16, 16, 8, 8, 18. Learn a cantrip. Minor Illusion. The 90s theme music can play when it's time for your team to stomp. And learn a spell. Mirror Image. Demonstrate your superior dodging and boxing fundamentals by slipping even the most deadly attacks. Helps you be much harder to hit. And when you're usually just concentrating on one spell for a long duration, you'll have extra Warlock slots back every short rest to use on something just like this. We are currently character level 5 since we started with 1 in Sorcerer, so Eldritch Blast is now striking twice per cast, or 2d10 plus 8, force damage, and a 20-foot push. Warlock level 5. Gain another invocation. I chose Eldritch Mind from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, gaining advantage on concentration saves, with which we were already proficient. Gain 3rd level spells. Revivify from the subclass. Rally an ally to stay in the fight, even from the brink of death. Counterspell. Fire a concentrated beam to defeat enemy mutant powers. And opt to trade out an older spell that isn't pulling the same value, such as Arms of Hadar, for Dispel Magic. Test the metal of opposing powers against your own, breaking right through with your focused beams. Crossing now back into Sorcerer level 2. Gain Font of Magic, letting you trade sorcery points for spell slots or spell slots for sorcery points, both potent options when you can regain Warlock spell slots at a short rest. Gain another 1st level spell from the Sorcerer or Cleric spell list. Magic Missile, always solid and reliable. Literally can't miss, and you can choose to pinpoint multiple weak targets or pile all your shots onto a single target. Sorcerer level 3. Gain Meta Magic, a great use of sorcery points. Quicken Spell, for another use of Eldritch Blast in a single round. Subtle Spell, for a way to cast in limiting circumstances, such as while your hands are bound. Also makes counterspells ineligible for enemies returning counterspell. Also gain a 2nd level spell. Blindness, Deafness. Strike the eyes of your enemy for a non-concentration form of control. You and your allies will have advantage to hit them while they have disadvantage to hit back. And as a reminder, most spells require the caster to be able to see their target. Sorcerer level 4. Gain an ASI. +2 Charisma, now at the maximum of 20. Gain a cantrip. Thaumaturgy. Your eyes glow and your command voice is clear and strong. Choose and optionally trade another Sorcerer Cleric spell for Gentle Repose. Buy more time before you can perform your next Revivify, normally a 1-minute time limit that requires a pricey material component. Sorcerer level 5. Learn 3rd level spells. Fireball. Fire at a combustible object to trigger an explosion from long range. Then trade an earlier pick to use Cleric's optional expanded spell list from Tasha's for Aura of Vitality, 20d6 healing over the course of a minute, spread out among your team. Sorcerer level 6. Learn another 3rd level spell. Mass Healing Word. Rally multiple allies from unconsciousness simultaneously. If there are multiple teammates at 0 HP at the same time, an AoE heal would return them all to the fight with just a single bonus action. Subclass feature Empowered Healing. 1 sorcery point to reroll healing spell dice. This is similar to the Empowered Meta Magic, but just for healing spells. Great for Cure Wounds, Mass Healing Word, and Aura of Vitality when you need it, but ineligible for your Racial or Warlock heals. We are now at character level 11, so EVs strike with 3 times per use for 3d10, plus 15, and a 30-foot push, and double it when using Quicken for 60-10, plus 30, and 66 if using Hex, plus a massive 60-foot push. Crossing back for the last time to Warlock level 6. Subclass feature Radiant Soul. Add Charisma mod to 1 radiant or fire damage roll to 1 target. And learn Thunderstep. Launch off with a forceful optic blast for a quick reposition. Warlock level 7. Gain an Invocation. Lance of Lethargy. Slow an oncoming attacker with the force of your beams. Add a 10-foot slow to your EBs in addition to the 30 feet of pushing. Its effect is still well felt if you only land part of an EB, as some of them will sometimes miss. Learn 4th level spells. Wall of Fire. Shut down the battlefield in a destructive and opaque line. Guardian of Faith. Defend a choke point and deal hefty radiant damage to enemy approach. Banishment. Launch a target right out of the fight. Warlock level 8. Gain another ASI. Plus 2 dexterity here. Warlock level 9. Gain an Invocation. I chose Gift of the Protectors from Tasha's for the Tome Pact boon. With it, you ward 1 ally from dropping to 0 HP, remaining at 1 HP instead with no action required, usable once per long rest. Applies to proficiency bonus number of allies, and at level 9 that is 4 people. Learn 5th level spells. From the patron, Flame Strike. Unleash a massive blast directly upward to limit collateral damage as you bear the unbridled might of your optic beams. Also from the patron, Greater Restoration. Undo persistent harm to an ally with an inspiring speech. And Wall of Light. Go visor off and blast an entire field before focusing blinding beams to specific targets. Warlock level 10. Subclass feature Celestial Resilience. Gain significant temporary hit points for yourself and for 5 other allies on every rest. Warlock 11. Mystic Arcanum. Eye Bite. Use your eye beams to non-lethally knock targets out cold for a minute. Gain a spell, possibly one of the previously traded out picks. We are now character level 17, so EBs strike 4 times per use. That's 4d10 plus 20 and a 40-foot push. And double it when using Quicken for 8d10 plus 40 plus 8d6 with Hex, and an 80-foot push. Warlock level 12. Gain an ASI. Plus 2 dexterity, now at the maximum of 20. Gain an Invocation. Eldritch Spear. Fire optic blast from an incredible range of 240 feet. Warlock level 13. Mystic Arcanum. Crown of Stars. Beams circle you and deal significant added damage, similar to how his beams arced around him during his revolutionary days. 7 4d12 bonus action attacks is as much as 28 d12 or an average 182 extra damage over the course of a battle from this one spell. Gain a spell, possibly one of the previously traded out picks. Warlock level 14, subclass feature Searing Vengeance. When at 0 HP, stand back up and heal for half of your hit point maximum while blasting creatures of your choice within 30 feet with radiant damage and giving them the blinded condition. Usable once per long rest. Magic Items Wishlist. Helm of Perfect Potential. This is an item from the book Glory of the Giants. It is an artifact, so beyond legendary rarity, and will come with 2 random minor good traits, 1 random major good trait, and 1 random minor bad trait. With it, you gain a bonus action laser from your face that is usable every single round of combat, firing a 90-foot range, 46 energy damage effect versus a dexterity saving throw. In addition, you gain several big spell blasts such as Tsunami, a fantastic and flavorful spell for Cyclops for dealing a sweeping blast that clears everything when he takes his visor off. Goggles of the Night. It is both a red-lensed eyewear and it provides dark vision to a range of 120 feet. This item increases Cyclops' natural dark vision to match the base range of Eldritch Blast, letting him generally outrange other combatants in a low-light setting. Wand of the War Mage, flavored as his glove button or the button on the side of his visor. With it, you ignore half cover and defeat higher armor classes the same way Cyclops can literally punch through tanks with his beams. It is a very rare rarity and requires attunement. Illusionist Bracers, very rare and also attunement. Whenever you cast a cantrip, you can use a bonus action to cast it again as a bonus action. This would mean spending sorcery points on quickened EBs is reserved only for when you are casting a spell to start a concentration or using AoE blast or the like. But doing the regular EB plus bonus EB won't cost sorcery points any longer. Spell scrolls from Sorcerer, Cleric, and Warlock spell lists are all usable by him, including some attractive and flavorful options such as Summon Celestial and Sunbeam. Tactics. Here we see what we end up with is a tactical ranged fighter with a variety of tools to meet any challenge. Eldritch Blast is his best and most versatile option, hitting and pushing one or several targets at a time from exceptional range. Chill Touch is used when you need to negate enemy healing effects. Sapping Sting is used to prone targets, even flying ones, and can facilitate your own retreat if used on a nearby target. Sacred Flame is used to defeat high AC and cover while also avoiding disadvantage due to nearby enemies. Sword Burst is used to hit multiple nearby enemies, and you can optionally activate Radiant Consumption to add extra radiant damage within Sword Burst's reach. Whatever the threat, he's got a plan to meet it using just his non-resource options. In addition to his highly versatile offense, Cyclops is a support role powerhouse. Celestial Warlock creates a lot of temporary HP for yourself and your party. Gift of the Protectors, letting one ally remain at 1 HP instead of dropping to 0, can apply to anyone in your group, including yourself, once a day. He has a deep pool of healing, which should be used mostly out of combat, particularly with Aura of Vitality, and healing in combat is typically reserved for getting an ally recently downed off of 0 HP using just bonus actions from Celestial. No spell slot needed. When a target drops to 0 and is then killed before they can be rallied, you have Revivify to quickly undo it, and even if you go down, your capstone feature Searing Vengeance gives you one more burst heal, AoE Blast and Blind that ignores friendly fire. Lesser Restoration and Greater Restoration are both carried, both hugely impactful defensive spells. Lesser averts devastating conditions like Blinded and Paralyzed, well worth your action in the second slot. And Greater is often used in the same sentence as the Wish spell when it comes to removing serious handicaps. Cyclops' general use concentration spell is Hex, able to be maintained all day with a single Warlock spell slot and guarded with a proficiency and advantage on all concentration saves. Hex is placed on key targets, even if multitasking on multiple foes at once, for both the extra damage and impairing checks as the situation demands. For instance, when allied with a grappler, such as Angel and Colossus, you can target the higher of Strength or Dexterity to impair their ability to defend grapples. When facing casters such as Magneto or Sinister, you can target their spellcasting stat to limit their ability to counterspell effectively. If not using Hex, Bless is a next likely candidate, especially when partnered with a great weapon master or sharpshooter using ally, bringing up chance to hit as well as chance to make saving throws for 3 allies, which can include yourself. Wall of Fire or Wall of Light can dramatically redraw a battlefield to your advantage and compare powerfully with EB's Repelling and Lethargy, pushing around and slowing opponents. This concludes my guide on how to play Cyclops. Just as a fun extra, if you were to build a mini of Cyclops, this is how he might look. I do hope you enjoyed this. If you have any thoughts on what you do to improve it, questions, or if you've played it, feedback on how it went, or anything else, please leave a comment. Definitely subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications as I have many more builds on the way. And as always, thank you for watching.
Pick a side, pick your poison. Pick a side, pick your poison.